Welcome to Calling All Voices, brought to you by the Dementia Action Alliance and the Global Council on Alzheimer's Disease. My name is Karen Love, and I am the CEO of the Dementia Action Alliance. In this podcast, you will hear from people living with dementia from the Black and the LGBTQ+ communities. They'll share stories about how resilience and persistence can help people to continue to live meaningful lives, even with the diagnosis of dementia. And you'll hear participants discuss why it's important that we call all voices to share their experiences. Today's episode will feature discussion with Deborah Tan and Will Smith.
Well, welcome to Calling All Voices podcast. I am your host, Deborah Tan, and I am going to be interviewing Mr. Will Smith on today. And so, Mr. Smith, welcome. I'm not going to call you Mr. Smith the entire interview, but I wanted to start off that way. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Deborah. I'm glad to be here to share my story a little bit. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And so we've kind of talked about a little bit, Will, that we're going to be kind of focusing on supporting yourself as a care partner or caregiver, as some refer to it. So let's get started.
Okay. All right.
Tell the listening audience about your journey with dementia. When and how did you realize something had changed for your wife, Capucine? Tell us about that, please.
You know, it was I'll tell a little story. We were on vacation to visit my daughter, and we had a rental car at the time. And I went to take the rental car back to the rental place, and I had my wife follow me behind me. You know, it started to rain, it started to snow, and it was kind of slippery. As she followed me, I was going on the highway, you know, to take an exit. I think it was 95 or something. And she kept straight. And she had no cell phone. She had no communication with me or anything. And wow, we couldn't get in contact with her. She was lost. To make a long story short, she was lost. She drove around, got gas, for over 24 hours.
Wow.
We tracked her credit cards. The way we found her, we was tracking her credit card through USAA, her purchases of gas. Me and her when we dated a long time ago, we used to go to 7-Eleven all the time. So she would always get gas in 7-Eleven. So after that incident happened, you know, my daughters actually went and got her, brought her home. As soon as she got home, she looked at me and was like, "I've been looking for you. Where you been?"
Right.
I knew that something was wrong.
Yeah. And let's unpack that a little bit more, Will. When you guys were reunited again,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that there was a degree of relief. Did she seem disheveled? Did she seem out of sorts? Or just was her matter of fact, "I've been looking for you. Where you been?"
No, she actually believed that she was looking for me. I mean, it was no doubt that was what she was doing that whole time, was looking for me. Not that she was lost, not that she was going in the wrong direction, you know, none of that. It was that she was looking for me.
Okay. And just based on the fact that you know your wife very well, do you think that at points she stopped and slept? Or do you think this 24-hour journey around pretty much the same vicinity kept going? Just tell me, speculate a little bit. What do you think your wife did?
I think she went 24 hours without sleeping. Because as I stopped tracking the credit card at 4:00 in the morning, and she was still going to like different places. You know, so in other words, she would ding at one place at 4, and when she ran close out of gas, it would ding again like at 6 a.m. You know, or however long it took for her to run out of gas or get close. She never ran out of gas. When she got close to running out of gas, she went and got some more. So I don't think she slept, because when she got there, she slept like all day and into the next day. Okay. So yeah, I don't think she slept at all.
Yeah, I think that's a good indicator that she she slept. That's what I was wondering if you're going to share with me. Was there a period she slept for a very long time? And it sounds as though she did. And it's interesting how she had the wherewithal, Will, to not run out of gas.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. And that was incredible because
Exactly.
she had no cash. The only thing she had was a credit card. That was it. Because it was supposed to just be a short trip for us to go there and come back.
Right.
And yeah, so she did remember to, use the credit card to go to those 7-Elevens, which helped out tremendously. I mean, that was really an answer to our prayers, was that she was using the credit card.
Yeah. And it was always 7-Eleven.
Always 7-Elevens.
She knew 7-Eleven. Okay. So, wow, that was riveting right there. So now it's clear to you. But before I ask this question, Will, were there other tall tale signs along the way that maybe you could have maybe dismissed as, oh, everybody does that. Nah. But that was the big one, or no, this was it?
That was the big one. But I mean, like it was signs before this.
Okay.
That we kind of dismissed, like she was having trouble pumping gas, anything that had to do with multiple things, like making coffee, right? You have to put the coffee in and close it. So she was having trouble making coffee in the morning, pumping her own gas. Sometimes she forgot directions to work, but she always remembered the way back home. But she would make like wrong turns and things like that, but she still had the understanding to call me then. She could still use a phone at that time. She would call me and say, hey, I'm lost, or where am I at, or, something like that. So those little signs started kind of giving us indicators. Truthfully, we thought she was just messing with us at one point, but soon we found out that it was something serious.
Yeah. So thank you for that segue, Will. Let's move right into then. What was then the diagnostic experience like for you? And you might want to, if you want to, you might want to break down, what was it like for you, Will? I'm interested in, and what was it like for Capucine, your wife? Or you could tell me collectively, but give me a glimpse of that.
I mean, for me, it was like frustrating, truthfully, because at the time I was actually running a business. I had a business, a Juice It Up franchise that I was running. So I had to take time off work to kind of run her to these different doctors. We're military, right? So a lot of times we go to different doctors. It wasn't the same doctor all the time. And when we finally found a neurologist that was kind of stable there, she sent us out to a civilian doctor. So we go to the civilian doctor, and then the civilian doctor, had no clue of what was going on, or, her problems or anything. And, he made a comment too that, we're going to find out if she's playing a sick joke on you, something like that, which, I didn't think it was appropriate, but that's, that was his segue into, him doing the examination. So,
wow. Yeah. I think that speaks to what we know to be as the insensitivity to all of this, because so much still is unknown. So you described things as being frustrating for you. What's a buzzword that it was for her?
I think confusing. She was confused about everything that was going on, why she was, going to all these different doctors and getting all these different exams, MRIs, they were doing brain exams, they were doing physical exams. She was going to speech therapy. She was going to like nutritionists. We were going to people out in the community that dealt with, public assistant and all those, trying to figure out what the veterans would help us with, and, what the military was helping us with. So I think through everything, she was more like confused of like what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Wow, it sounds like you guys did see an awful lot of physicians during that particular time. Mm-hmm. And so, if you will, take me to, okay, let me back up just a little bit. So all of that was taking place. Nothing was determined or nothing was explained as to what was going on. Am I correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so get me to the next place where there's some revelatory information. Something is being told. You're getting, you can see the light a little bit now. Describe that for me.
As we were going to the neurologist, and they were doing all these different exams. And one exam that she had to do in particular was for her job, because she had lost, her ability to do her job. I mean, she was a federal worker, and she had really lost her ability to perform at work because, the paperwork, it was a paperwork intense. So she was like, wasn't so good with paperwork anymore. But so they kind of ordered us to go to the doctor, and they wanted the doctor to write a statement saying exactly what was wrong with her and would she get better. So they wanted that in writing. They wanted to know what was wrong with her and will she get better? Will this condition get better? And so as we started going back and forth to the neurologist, they finally came out with a diagnosis that she has Pick's disease, which is a form of dementia, frontotemporal, that. So they finally came out with that diagnosis for her, but they didn't know what kind of medication to put her on. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know the next stages she would go through. They didn't know how to, handle those different stages. So, I mean, that was the first step of me at least knowing, okay, this is what I'm dealing with, right? I'm dealing with a form of dementia.
Okay.
So that's when I kind of started doing research and kind of trying to figure out, okay, how do I, help her through this time, and how do I help the family and everything else?
Okay. And just out of curiosity, approximately how many hours or days or months or years do you think that you spent just researching dementia, approximately?
I mean, if I would put it in years, it'd probably maybe about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I was adamant about it every day and one of the keys for me was that she was so young, right? I mean, my wife got dementia when she was in her 50s, early 50s. So I was like, man, she don't supposed to have this. So I did research on not only dementia, but what could reverse it, right? So I started researching things that can help the brain, things that can help exercises, things that can, reverse the symptoms on it. Wasn't a lot out there as far as, speaking about that, so that's why I had to kind of continue to dig into it.
Gotcha. So I think if you would like to add, we were talking about the medical community and what your experiences with doctors were. Would you like to add any more to that part before I transition to another area?
I mean, like I said, the medical community just really, and I think I have seen this across the board, just didn't have a lot of knowledge about it, didn't have a lot of experience with it. I guess the word that I kept hearing all the time was that, well, it treats everybody else different. So, you can't really say that this type of medication will work, or this will work, or that will work, because everybody reacts different to the disease.
Okay, gotcha. Tell me if you agree or disagree with this. Approximately, according to research, 69% of caregivers have no training or information or given any information to be better prepared as a caregiver. Would you agree with that? Would you probably be added into that stat to make it possibly 70%?
In the beginning, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, because in the beginning, you don't have any idea of, at least I didn't. In the beginning, I didn't have any idea about how to deal with dementia. You hear about, the only part you hear about is Alzheimer's, right? When people lose their memory. And then, you don't hear about the other type of dementias that are out there. So she didn't have Alzheimer's. So I didn't know how to deal with this particular disease, but I also found out that, most medical providers didn't know how to deal with it either.
Correct.
So I think that number, it might be a little lower, than what I would speculate, yeah.
Good point. Very good point. Wow. Tell me then, given all of this, over all of these years, you just did research from 3 to 4 years on what you were contending with.
Right.
How do you take care of yourself well? How do you keep your balance, your well-being? What do you do?
Well, I tell you, I found out that, I had to take care of myself in order to take care of her. I did read through that research how not only does the disease destroy, the patient or the one that with the dementia, it also takes a toll on like the family and the caregiver the most. And a lot of caregivers don't recover from, caring. So, I just started doing a regimen of just really taking care of myself, take time to take care of myself. And for me, and I think it might be different for everybody else, how they take care of themselves. I think the most important thing is have time for yourself. But through my time, I wanted to, read the Bible, read something inspiring. I think what helped me the most was kind of like meditation, because meditation gave me opportunity to just kind of sit still and really kind of think about things and feel what I was going through, and be able to deal with these different type feelings so that, when I had to deal with her, that I'm already kind of grounded, right? I won't let anything kind of disturb me that happens that day. I was on a regimen of exercising, running, lifting weights, playing sports, that type of thing. So I think that's what really kind of, gave me a balance, right? Gave me a balance to spend time with myself first, but then I felt like I was taking care of myself. And I also did other things like massages and, I got my toes done. Okay, this is recorded. I got my fingernails, done. I got all these things that, manicure, pedicures, all of it, to just really kind of, take care of myself.
Yeah, yeah. I think those are wonderful ways of pampering. Absolutely, definitely. Uh-huh. So let me ask you this. I like how you do that, though. I wanted to make sure I said that. So, Will, you seem to have a really good balance going on here, but it's something that I just thought about, and I'm going to jump back for a minute here that I want you to address.
Okay.
Given all the time that you spent in learning about frontal temporal dementia, did that empower you to be able to interact, if you will, and or advocate to your wife's doctors?
Yes, because a lot of times because of her problem of not communicating, so she couldn't communicate to the doctors basically. So she couldn't say, I can't take a shower, I can't eat, I don't make it to the bathroom sometimes, or, she couldn't communicate to the doctors directly. So I had to be my voice and I had to be her voice. So that was all the research I did was things that I would tell the doctor, this is how I took care of that. When I see her around the house, just picking up things and food or whatever, I know she's hungry, right? I read that she was hungry. And so that's how I dealt with it. I read that, to, just kind of tap her on the shoulder to kind of hold her in place when she's moving around, right? Hold her lightly on the shoulder. So when she's kind of antsy or moving around, I just put my hands on the shoulder. Oh, it's going to be all right. And then she'll kind of stay still, right? So the research and stuff kind of helped me. And then I communicated to the doctors, for her.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like you were helping the doctors too, Will.
Yeah.
But it seemed like it should be the other way around, but Knowledge is power. Knowledge is
Yeah.
power. I'll accept it that way. Okay.
Yeah, me too. I mean, yeah.
Okay. Tell me this, how does your community support you and your wife with regard to her FTD?
You know, the community I was in was wonderful. I tell you, my wife, and this might not be for everyone, but my wife was a little younger, so she was still able to walk, which I know a lot of people with dementia can't walk. But we would walk around the neighborhood together, me and her, and we would just talk to the neighbors. And you know, a lot of times I would just kind of explain to them about her condition because you know she couldn't communicate with the neighbors, and always, like 99% of the cases, my neighbors were like, if I see her, I'll give you a call. What's your phone number? I even had in my community police officers that took down my phone number that when they saw her roaming around by herself, they called. Or they even, we had a couple of incidents where, so in my house, I had everything locked down except for the garage. So I locked the garage sometimes, but not all the time. And so she would hit the button, go out the garage door and just walk around the neighborhood. And so I had a few times where the police officers brought her home because they knew where I lived at, they knew me, they knew, you know, the community and everything else. And I think one of the things I did too to help with that was when we went walking, I always walked the same route. I didn't take her to a different route. I walked the same route. So when she got out the house or was by herself, she would walk that same route. And all I had to do was find that route. And then it was people on that route that knew her. And so when they saw her walking that route by herself, you know, they would contact me or they would just actually bring her home. I mean, it was so beautiful. Before I left, I mean, I saw like 3 of my neighbors bringing her home because she got out of the garage.
Wow. Wow. What a supportive community. Do you think something like that could be replicated in other communities? What do you think?
I think so. I think what a lot of caregivers don't want to do is communicate that to others, right? I found it easy to communicate to others, but I know a lot of people don't want to discuss it, don't want to talk about it, you know, that type of thing. But I think if you just really, if you live in a community and just communicate with your neighbors, you know, hey, my name's Willie, you know, this is my wife, Capucine, she has dementia. You know, if you see her walking around here by herself, could you please contact me? You know, and like I said, most of the neighbors are like, yeah, sure, man. I mean, they want to hug her and stuff and, you know, shake her hand and that kind of stuff. So I was very open with my neighbors that I needed help, right? I was like, hey, if you see her by herself, you know, she shouldn't be by herself. She should be with me or be walking with somebody that's kind of guiding her in a direction. So, and that kind of made the community kind of get a little more involved in it and not just kind of look away.
Gotcha. Accountability almost, right?
Yeah.
Wow. It's a degree of that for sure. You said something interesting to me and I want to piggyback off of it if I can. You said that a lot of people keep it secret. They don't tell. So you tie that back into replication in other communities. And am I hearing you say if people are secretive and keep things closed in, don't open up, if you will, then how can one help? How can it be replicated? Am I understanding that correct, Will?
Yeah, I mean, even you know, I even experienced that with my daughters, right? Because they were like, Dad, you don't have to tell everybody about it. I mean, you know, mom's condition, you know, that's family, you know, business or, you know, something like that. I was like, no, it's not family business. I said, people need to know, you know, need to be aware of what's going on with her so that if something happens, they could, you know, be our partner, right? Partner with us and say, hey, call a, you know, 911 or something, some help or whatever. So I did experience that in my family. So I'm sure a lot of others experience that too.
I would agree with you. God, it's always such a delight to chat with you. We're beginning to wrap up the interview, Will. So this is what I want to end with. And you can spend as long as you like with the question.
Okay.
And so it goes. what advice, Will, would you give to others about how to maintain self-care while being a care partner, caregiver? What would you advise? 2 or 3 things.
Definitely, I think I mentioned the most important thing for me was just taking time for myself. But through that time, the things that helped me the most, I think, is the meditation portion of it. And you can meditate, you can pray, you can just sit there silent or something so that you can kind of listen or feel what you're feeling, right? I mean, if you're frustrated, I was frustrated sometimes. I wanted to feel that frustration, right? And kind of deal with it. So just sitting quietly and just kind of, feeling things was really important to me. And prayer was important, talking to God about it, asking God for help. I know everybody is not religious like that, but that was something that helped me, was just prayer, meditation. I think exercise was another big one for me. That was a big one because it gave me opportunity to get out and just, run out some frustration or run out and think and that kind of thing. So I would just say to all the caregivers out there, take time for yourself, and take care of yourself. However you do it, just do it, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of anybody else. You're going to find yourself, and that's what I discovered. So I experiment with different ways to take care of myself. And these are the core things that I stuck with. So, I tried some other things that I didn't stick with. But again, I think the most important thing is just really just taking time, taking care of yourself, and just kind of so that you can really take care of your partner.
Wow. Yeah. I like how you made that point that there are many things or several things you tried, but you developed a core that you're stuck with. And so I think that's real important for our listeners to know that it's no right or wrong way.
Right.
It's
exactly.
it's just whatever that works. And we know we can't do it all, but pick a couple of things that you can stick and stay with, that you find passionate about and you are willing to commit. Because I think if it's something we really like, we stick to it. Would you agree with that one?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I think also, if I can just throw this last thing in there,
Oh, sure.
Healthy eating was one of the things that helped me a lot. And not just healthy eating for me, but healthy eating for her was, I'm telling you, it was a 360 when I started feeding her just vegetables, fruits, and meats. Just healthy foods around. Her attitude, her weight, everything just changed. Her bowel movements. And when nurses came over, they were like, man, she's got the body of an athlete, because I really paid attention to, keeping her in good health, much as I can. I couldn't do anything about her condition, but her health, what she ate, what she drank, all of those things were important for both of us. And
Incredible.
then I added the walking onto it. That was incredible, the turnaround.
Marvelous. Oh, Will, it's always such a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for participating with Calling All Voices. And your voice is going to resonate with so many. And so again, I just thank you for being on this call with me. And I want you to have a marvelous day.
Thank you. It was definitely my pleasure. And I hope that will help some caregivers out there, because there's not a lot of voices out there that can help you. So definitely thank you guys for putting the voice out there so people can hear it.
Thank you, Will. Take care.
You too. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Calling All Voices. If you're interested in learning more, please see the episode notes for this podcast. In the episode notes, you can find more information about Calling All Voices and the work of the Dementia Action Alliance and the Global Council on Alzheimer's Disease. The creation of this podcast was sponsored by Otsuka America Pharmaceutical, Inc. The views expressed in this podcast reflect the views of the speakers, not the views of Otsuka America Pharmaceutical Inc. If you liked what you heard today, please make sure to subscribe to the series, share a review, and let others know about it.